From the Russ Center for Media in downtown Cape Girardeau, welcome to Focus on Southeast, a program on issues, events, and people impacting Southeast Missouri State University. I'm Dan Woods with KRCU Public Radio. On today's show, we're spending time with SEMO President Dr. Carlos Vargas. We'll be talking about the Transforming Lives campaign, retention and graduation rates, and much more. Hi, Dr. Vargas.
Hello, Dan. It's good to be back.
Good to see you again.
Yes, thank you.
So let's start off, I guess, by talking about the Transforming Lives campaign. This was announced at the block party before homecoming. Tell us about the announcement.
Yeah, sure. Well, we've been engaged in what's called the silent phase for the campaign for a couple of years now, and we made it public. So that's a typical approach to campaigns. You go through a silent phase and then you go into a public phase. And homecoming was the time when we made it public. At the time, right now, when we announced it, we have about 65% of the funds of our goal. Our goal was developed in conjunction with consultants, individuals who helped us figure out what was a realistic, yet sort of what they call a stretch goal for us. So $60 million is what the goal for the campaign is. Mm-hmm. We're right now at 65% of that, so it's about $39 million, and we're excited to move forward. It's a comprehensive campaign. It involves every aspect of the university's operation. We've separated the campaign into four what we call pillars. Academics, of course, athletics, facilities, and technology. Those are the four areas. And we are actively fundraising for them. The Division of Advancement is working with individuals, donors, friends of the university to get to gifts to help us move the institution forward in every aspect of it.
At the announcement, you talked a lot about just how this modern campus idea and having Southeast to be a model for what higher education should be. Talk a little bit about the vision, because things are changing, the world is changing, higher education is changing, and SEMO's not immune from that. So speak to that just a few moments, if you would.
Sure. Well, one of the characteristics of today's environment is that it's really difficult to predict exactly how higher education is going to evolve. We're dealing with changes in just about every aspect of our operation. From the way that you deliver education to the kind of programs that you have to have in place, to the way that you convince people, essentially offer people, students, the opportunity to go to college. In general, higher education in general, the funding streams, the technology. So everything is changing, and so it's actually difficult to assume that we know exactly what direction is going. We need to make quick changes right now, and in many cases trying to predict what the proper change or initiative should be. But what is true is that we are in a very exciting time. We really are. It's a challenging time, but very exciting time also for higher education.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Are you excited about it, or you're like, oh no, how are we going to figure this out?
Both of those. Both. Go from one to the other. It is exciting, as I said, because the developments in our knowledge base are incredible. We hear about artificial intelligence right now, right? Everywhere we talk about virtual reality. It's all technology that is also permeating higher education. We're facing developments in computing. I mean, quantum computing is coming along, and it is actually counterintuitive what quantum computer does compared to a digital computer. So there are changes everywhere, and all those changes we need to consider so that we can adapt our delivery of the educational experience to the students in such a way they can maximize the learning, the benefit of being in an institution of higher education right now.
One of the things you talked about at the event was about this IBM partnership. We're talking about computers. Talk about the IBM partnership, because this is all part of this looking to the future.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. We have been working and developed here at the university a cyber ranch which is essentially a unit, a center that has a computer made up of lots of what we used to call CPUs. Now they call them cores.
Yeah.
But essentially it's a lot of microprocessors all put together and working in parallel with each other. And that, of course, creates a digital computer that is very powerful.
Yeah.
And so we are adding continuously cores to that system. Well, we actually have now developed through a grant from the state and a donor, made it possible to work with IBM right now in creating what we call a Cyber Command Center. Cyber Command Center is going to be a facility that is going to allow us to run scenarios so that we can literally run a scenario and replicate how you need to react to a situation where you have an attack, maybe in a cyber attack. Okay. So it's almost like a command center.
Yeah.
Some people might think of it as the situation room.
Oh, okay.
Right, but it's a place where you bring people together and you bring people with different areas of specialization. So in a business, you would bring together the CEO, the CIO, the Chief Security Officer, people from IT, people from the finance area and all that. They all come together and try to work as a group to respond to potentially a cyber attack. And we're doing that, and so the room is really literally almost like the ones you see on TV, where you have monitors, computer stations, and so it's equipped with technology that allows and simplifies the operation of the team to respond to emergencies of various kinds, actually.
And this is important for students graduating in cybersecurity. This is the kind of thing that they need to know how to do and be familiar with, right?
Not only that, this gives the students an opportunity to actually go and train other people and help the community, the business community. Many businesses don't have necessarily the infrastructure to respond very effectively to a cyber attack. So what we are thinking about doing is not only incorporating this facility and this technology into our academic program on cybersecurity. We have undergraduate and graduate programs in that area, but also use it as an engagement opportunity to the community, so we can provide assistance to businesses, to organizations that might be subject to an attack, and so help them develop plans as to how to respond to a cyber attack. The cyber attack is particularly unusual in the sense that you don't see anything happening. Everything is happening in the computers with your electronic systems, and you're sitting down having a cup of coffee, not knowing that your data may be blocked or stolen or compromised. So it's a very different way of having to repel attacks than we normally are used to.
Yeah, and I understand that there's a lot of job openings, a lot of job opportunities for students who are able to do this type of work. It's just a growing, expanding field, right?
It is an expanding field, and SEMO has been a leader in cybersecurity, certainly in Missouri. We were the first institution that created the bachelor's degree in cybersecurity. And our student group called the Cyber Defense Team, they compete every year in a statewide competition with other institutions, and we've won the first place in that competition for 10 out of the last 11 years, I believe. And so we have a very strong team in that area. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little about something else that came up as part of the Transforming Lives campaign. The announcement was the new health sciences facility. Mm-hmm. Tell us about where that's going to be and what that's going to mean for our students.
Sure. That's going to be located actually where Dearmont is currently located. So Dearmont is a residence hall that was built a long time ago. It's some people refer to it as a Second World War bunker kind of thing. It's a lot of concrete, and so, but it's really now closed. It's not a facility that we can really easily remodel and use. And so what we have decided to do is to demolish that facility and build in it an academic building. And the academic building has been made possible through the support of the state, but also from the federal government. So Senator Roy Blunt helped us get a grant. And so we are going to be demolishing Dearmont and building this allied health, the health sciences building, which is going to incorporate programs in allied health, so nutrition, athletic training, those programs. And it's going to give us an opportunity to even envision new programs possibly created. But the health-related programs are increasingly important, as you may know. And for this area, with two large medical providers here, health-related programs are very, very important. The community will continue to need them. And so I think we are really responding to a very important need in the area.
Yeah. And then a third building at the Arts Complex at the River Campus.
Yes.
Tell us a little about that too.
Yes. Well, and that, again, I did not mention, but the visual and performing arts in general is an area that we have received a statewide mission in.
Yeah.
The university, we have a lot of credibility in that field. Our institution has the only campus totally dedicated to the visual and performing arts. And we have transitioned to the River Campus opened in 2007, and we have transitioned all the programs in the College of Arts and Media to that area, but we have not been able to locate all of the programs there.
Oh.
So in conjunction with the City of Cape and also a private developer, we have now, we're using now 2 new buildings that were remodeled and are being used now for painting and for ceramics in the area, so that those are programs that were in the main campus and now are being transitioned to that. So they've been operating for a couple of semesters there now, and we need one more building to be able to transfer to it sculpture. And so some people refer to that as the dirty arts area, because it's not as clean as some of the other ovens there. But the point is, we are excited to be able to put more of the university's programs in that area, because it's an area that has not been as active and economically not as well developed as some of the other areas in Cape. And so the city and this developer and the university, we're all working together to try to make sure that we bring an additional level of activity to it. And so we're very excited about that. I think that's going to be great for the university.
That's great. And one more thing before we go to break, and because we're going to talk about that announcement. Plans are in the planning stage to bring alumnus here for a special concert, benefit comedy show. Tell us about that, who that is, and what that's going to happen.
Well, we, as we have now made very public, the university is celebrating its sesquicentennial, which is 150 years of operation. We're extremely excited about that. We started in March, and then we're going to have a whole year of celebration that is going to end up in April. The reason it's not March to March is because we want to make the end event coincide with our eclipse, which we are going to be in the path of totality for that eclipse. But we thought that it would be nice to have somebody come back, an alum from the university come back and perform here. And the person you are actually talking about is we have been in conversations with Cedric, the entertainer, who has agreed to visit us sometime in March of 24 to do a fundraiser here for the university. So we're very excited. We're very proud of him and his career, and he is also very excited to be able to come back. So we're looking forward to that event in March of this coming year.
Lots of exciting things to talk about.
Yes.
And we're only halfway done, so we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Dr. Vargas. You're watching Focus on Southeast, and we'll be right back.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff. like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Welcome back to Focus on Southeast. We're spending time today with SEMO President Dr. Vargas. So we talked about the Transforming Lives campaign. Let's jump ahead now to retention and graduation rates, which is something we've talked about many times on this show. Kind of tell us where we are right now.
Well, we are in a good place right now. Actually, we after the pandemic, where we actually were able to achieve our goal of 80% retention, which is quite impressive. After that, it's gone down a little bit. However, we're back to about 76% retention, and we're excited about that.
That's still a good number.
And our ability to graduate students actually is very good, because you may retain students very well, but then the question is, are they graduating? And that's really what matters. So we are about 13% higher than the national numbers, the average. So we're doing very well in terms of helping students graduate after they are here for a few years. So they come here, they stay 4 years. The national average is about 30%, ours is 43%. So we're doing very well. And in terms of our graduation rate also, we're about 56%, I believe, right now, compared to the national norm, which I think is about 50%. So even though these are not numbers that for the average person sound very high, they really are, because students don't necessarily come here and spend all their time just graduating. They are, working towards graduation. They are exploring different fields. Sometimes they change a major. Sometimes they take less credits than that they would normally take. And there are a lot of reasons why students do not necessarily go straight through and graduate. But so we're doing very well in our numbers, and we are continuing to work all the time to try to make sure that we remove any obstacles that we may inadvertently put in place in front of the students as they work towards graduation. We're streamlining our curriculum. We're making it simpler to understand, making sure that students also feel that the programs are relevant to them, and that it really puts them into, that the programs put them in a competitive position compared to other students in other institutions.
I want to talk about enrollment challenges and opportunities in higher education, but when you said that, it made me think of this. How do you find out, how to communicate to potential students? I mean, we don't survey them really before they come here, so how do you find out how to make things easier, how to make things more transparent? How do you find that magic formula to make it to where this is such a welcoming place for someone to come to?
That's a great question. It really is. And that's something that I really keep talking to people in admissions and in other areas. And I talk to the students when they come to visit as much as I can, because the way to do that is to listen to the students. Not just say, look, this is what we offer, take it or leave it, that's it. We listen to the students very, very intently, and we just try to make sure that we understand what is it that they're waiting for, what is it that they're expecting, and how do we make it easier for them to navigate. So I try to meet with groups of students. As a matter of fact, last night I met with a group of what we call ambassadors. These are students that work in the admissions office providing tours for families who come to visit. They want to take a tour of the university. And so they come and visit. They are not committed to come to the university, but they want to see what we offer. These students are very critical for in our ability to recruit somebody new. And so I talk to them and I say, so tell me, what do you experience? What questions do you get from people? How can we relate better to them? That to me is a very important action on my part to make sure that I am able to communicate to others in the university how is it that we can optimize the process of recruiting students and making sure that we are offering what they want. And also I meet with students who are already here, trying to understand what obstacles they are facing and how can we make things a little bit easier. We're looking at different aspects of the curricular process. In some of our majors, for example, we require that a student also sign up for a minor. Now that's something that is not that usual in universities. Now there are reasons why faculty say, well, if you're in this major, you should also have this minor. But normally that adds some complexity to the program. And the question is, do they really need that minor, or is that something that can be integrated into the major? So doing curricular redesign is important. And that's something that we're working with the faculty to make sure that we, again, make it easy for the students to identify what is it that they can enroll in.
Because there's more competition to get students at all universities. I mean, so this is one of those pieces that you really have to get it right.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, exactly. That's the point. So, you know, and again, let me also mention that one of the challenges we face is what people refer to as the enrollment cliff, right? And the enrollment cliff, actually, in my view, there are two cliffs. The one enrollment cliff refers to the fact that in the last recession we had in the U.S., that was about between 2007 and 9, the birth rates in the U.S. actually went down. When the birth rates go down, the number of students, the 18-year-olds, goes down 18 years later.
Right.
And so what we're facing at the national level right now is a reduction in the number of students that are graduating from high school. That means that instead of having X number of students, you have less than that. And so, but then you have the same number of institutions of higher education. And so the competition for those students becomes more difficult, right? But then there's another cliff, and that is one that actually started before the pandemic. And that cliff, I call it the demand cliff. The demand cliff has to do with the perceived challenge of going to getting a college degree. What people almost see as is a question that they ask themselves is a college degree really worth it? Does it add value? And students and parents are increasingly asking themselves the question because of the cost of higher education. And so many times they're saying, maybe I can delay higher education. Maybe I can go for a college degree a little bit later than I normally would have done that. So that cliff is more a perceived cliff that people are reacting to, and that's the one we have more control over, in the sense that we need to communicate to people, make an effort. It's important that you think about your future, and the fact that you may, people think this way. They say, some of them say, okay, I can get a job, I don't have any debt, I can get a job, and I'm just making some money, and then I move on.
Yep.
On the other hand, I can go to college, and then I may need to ask for loans, and so 4 years later, I get a college degree, but then I have 20, 30, 40,000 worth of loans, and then they say, well, what is my salary going to be then? Am I going to be able to pay that loan and still have a reasonable lifestyle? Those questions they're asking themselves all the time. So we need to help them deal with that and analyze that and make a decision on those questions that they are asking themselves more and more.
Is it, you've really got two cliffs, both coming at you at the same time, really.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you have to really, you're being attacked sort of on two fronts.
Yes.
So you have to figure out how to message correctly. And that has to be very challenging to get the message out in the appropriate channels to reach the audience you want to reach, to share the message you want to share.
Correct. Correct. So we need to work with students to say, look, let me tell you why coming to SEMO is the thing to do, instead of going to another institution. And then the second thing is, and why should you do it now instead of
Right.
waiting? Sometimes when you wait for something, I think people say life happens, and sometimes your intentions to maybe I'll just delay my going to college for a year, and then something happens, and then that year becomes 2 or 3 or 4, or it never happens. And so,
Yeah.
but it's something that every student, every family has to deal with separately and analyze separately, and they have to make a decision. And maybe the decision is we're going to have to delay it or actually not go to higher education. You can be very successful in the trades if you have a different kind of preparation. You need to be able to do something to be financially sound, I guess. You need to be able to sell yourself if you want to get a job and you want to get a salary.
Yeah.
It could be a trade, working in the trades, and that's fine. But you need to make that decision, and we want the students to make that decision deliberately.
You got about a minute, but I want to ask you one more thing.
Yes.
So in all of your many years in higher education, have you ever seen this much change from so many different angles happening all at the same time?
No, to be honest, I have not. I have not. The changes related to recruitment, the changes related to the perceived loss of value of higher college degree, the changes happening in technology, the development of new technologies, and at such a fast pace. There is increasingly the feeling that technology is accelerating. It's not going at the same speed, that every time the developments are coming in faster and faster. And as a society, to deal with that technology and knowing how to respond to it, it's becoming increasingly complicated.
I'd love to talk with you about these things. It's been good to visit with you. Thanks for being here once again.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Focus on Southeast is a collaboration of KRCU Public Radio and the Department of Mass Media here at Southeast Missouri State University. And just a reminder that portions of these conversations will be broadcast on KRCU Public Radio and will also be available online at krcu.org and on the station's YouTube channel. From the Rest Center for Media, I'm Dan Woods. Thanks for watching. Be sure to tune in next time when we focus on Southeast.